The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
Conversations in Black History Month often rightly focus on painful recollections of oppression and racism. But tonight, we'll hear why it's also important to celebrate this month with joy and spirited storytelling. Then, Nan Kiwanuka finds out about filmmaker Ines Johnson-Spain's documentary, Becoming Black, that explores her white parents' decision to lie about her background. It's Tuesday, February 15th, and that's next on The Agenda. Anger over the murder of George Floyd in the spring of 2020 drew people around the world into the streets to protest anti-Black racism. It also inspired creators of all kinds who've taken that energy and turned it into something new. And let's find out more about some of that. We welcome, in London, Ontario, performing artist, playwright, and activist Alexandra Kane. In Whitby, Ontario, Rochelle Gooden, Senior Services Specialist, Equity and Inclusion at Toronto Public Library. And on the downtown campus of the University of Toronto, poet and filmmaker Hannah Flores. And I think that's the first time I've had three guests all wave at me at the start of our session, which means we're off to a great start. That's wonderful. I want to pick up on this notion of Black joy and find out what it means to all of you. Hannah, do you want to get us started? What does Black joy mean to you?
Sure. I think that Black joy allows for Black people to really be in their element, whatever that looks like to them, whatever that sounds like, really getting to know their inner self and getting to express themselves however they choose in order to create things that the public can enjoy and that other people can learn from.
Alexandra, what would you add to that?
I would add that Black joy exists in the smallest moments and the biggest movements. Black joy is a response to oppression, and it is something that we as Black people hold sacred, and we can share it with strangers, we can share it with family members. Black joy is sort of our life's blood.
Rochelle.
Sure, absolutely. I love what everyone has said so far. Black joy is really understanding where you're from, understanding your history, but living in your present and looking forward to the future as well, and enjoying all the diversity that Black joy has, Black culture. It's not a monolith, though, and a lot of joy comes from different things, and then really relishing and loving who you are and how you experience all the different and beautiful elements of Black culture.
Rochelle, let me do a quick follow-up with you, because part of your answer said looking forward to the future. And obviously a lot of what has transpired, particularly over the last few years, has been miserable and unhappy and difficult, and none of it has sort of pointed to a looking forward to a more optimistic and positive future. At least you could interpret it that way. So again, talk to us about the importance of looking forward to a better future and how that works into all of this.
Sure. I mean, after everything that's happened, after really the world woke up to what Black people have been experiencing for generations, so much has changed, I think. I mean, there's way more that to be done, but organizations are looking at policies. They're looking at things through an equity lens. There have been some movement in trying to help, I guess, even the playing field. And so looking forward to the future for me is really looking at how we can evolve and develop and bring Black joy into our lives. And yes, acknowledge the trauma, but really get out of that situation.
All right, Alexandra, let's look at some of your contribution to this issue. And that is, I want to talk about a play you did called Finding Black Joy, which people can watch if they go onto the Grand Theatre website. It is there through the end of February. Start us off. What's the play about?
So the I don't know if it's a play. It's this compilation of events that sort of take you from the bottom, the depths of the hardest parts of being Black, which is racism. It confronts racism in a very truth-telling way. and then moves you to this concert, which is an expression of Black joy. And you can't really get to Black joy without understanding the pressures being faced by the Black community. And so it's this wonderful truth-telling piece that involves as many Black people as I could fit into it. And yeah, it's I don't know, it's one of my greatest works.
Okay, you don't call it a play. What would you call it? A performance piece, or what would you call it?
I don't know. An arts, performing arts installation.
Okay, performing arts installation. That's good. Let me read a couple of lines from the piece, and then I'll come back at you with another question here. Here are the two lines. This is from a section called A Grave and a Mirror. Night, dress, hair, bird, chairs, paint, ink, pets, animals. All black, better than being black. To be free, really free, is to take a break from being black. Okay, Alexandra, what does that mean?
This was an actual conversation that I had with my husband. I had been passed over. My talent, my time, my energy had been given to a certain institution, and nothing was reciprocated. Nothing. They just took and then left me. So I'm on the floor and I'm crying and I'm listing all of the things that are Black. And then when it comes to me being Black, it's not good enough. It's not valued in the same as a Black chair or a Black bird. And to be free from that oppression, to be free from being used, and to be free from the chains of slavery that have been binding us to the ground and to these graves, to take a break from being Black. That's what being free is.
I totally understand that part of the equation, but of course, if I can put it this way, your Blackness is a fundamental part of who you are. Can you take a break from all of the things you just mentioned and still be you?
I think there's two different Blacks that we're talking about. The Black that I'm talking about is all of the stereotypes and the stigmas attached to the color. I love being Black, and that's how that section ends. I love being Black. I love my culture. I love my people. I love my expressions. I love it. It's just I hate being the Black that the world has placed on me.
Totally understand. Okay, Hannah, time to put you in the spotlight. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. You created a spoken word piece in honor of Black History Month last year. It's called Your Black Friend Told Me to Tell You This. We're going to play a clip from it, and then we're going to come back and chat. Go ahead, Sheldon.
The star student, the star athlete, being the star until she is just darkness. Sometimes stars burn out, sometimes stars turn to dust and fall out of the sky, and everyone finds amusement in the fireworks, the pyrotechnics of her exhaustion. If your Black friend feels like her Black girl magic is starting to fade, will you look at her the same way? Will you mistake her majesty for witchcraft? Will you be friends with her, her glass ceiling, and her systemic hurdles? They come as a set of 3, collect them all. Black magic is tricky like that.
Okay, just first a question, an observation off the top. You're not reading that, right? You've got all that committed to heart?
Yes, pretty much. The entire thing was just done that way.
How the heck did you do that?
Well, that wasn't the first video performance that I had done that way. I guess since the start of the pandemic and even slightly before, I had really gotten into filmmaking on my own, just using what I had around me, like my phone camera and some other small pieces of equipment to, I guess, allow for my audience to expand, and so I could reach a broader demographic with what I really wanted to say, especially the messages that I had in mind to portray with my work. And I found that, especially when I write my own pieces, it's very easy for me to memorize them and speak them into existence and breathe life into them that way with how I choose to say it, and also the visuals that I choose to accompany those words.
I have to marvel at that because, I mean, not to push the comparison too far, but the job I do requires some performance skills. But what you just did there, I mean, holy smokes. And I mean, you didn't make a stumble, not a thing. That's very impressive. So I take my hat off to you for that. Tell me what you believe to be the message behind what you're trying to convey.
I think the message, especially for that particular poem, was the fact that even in the title, "Your Black Friend Told Me to Tell You This," it's almost like there's somebody in the middle who has to relay that message. It was sort of a way for me to express the fact that Black people often, especially in non-Black spaces, feel uncomfortable with speaking about their own personal struggles, experiences, traumas, and their feelings. And I think it's very important that during Black History Month, not only, of course, do we acknowledge the trauma that Black people have experienced historically, but also we move on to celebrate Black joy and trying to enhance and amplify the happiness that we experience as well, and try to make those different changes within our relationships with people around us.
And one more follow-up. Is there a suggestion in your piece that the rest of society can do X, Y, and Z to make that comfort level a little more comfortable?
Yes, for sure. I think that one of the most important things, and I remember even my grandmother always gave me this advice, is to listen. So please listen to other people and be willing to hear other perspectives, be open-minded, and really invite that conversation to happen. Because once you have that setting and you come into a conversation with a positive and open mindset, then we can move on into collaboration and really trying to understand each other as a collective.
Gotcha. Okay, Rochelle, let me ask you about what the Toronto Public Library is doing for Black History Month, because, of course, your library system is one of the biggest in North America. I don't know what it is. Is it number 2 or 3 in North America? It's huge anyway.
I think it's number 1. I think
it?
we are huge. Yeah, we've got 100 branches, and our circulation is usually number 1 or 2 in the world. So we're on the map for sure.
That's amazing. Well, that also offers you, of course, innumerable tentacles in which to get a message out and in which to perform a function to help greater understanding in society. So what's the library system got up its sleeve this month?
Right. So we celebrate Black culture all year long, and we have a website that's up all year long, and we add content to it. So for February, we add more content. So we have book lists, blog posts, even a blog post about understanding Black joy through the eyes of Black Canadians. And of course, we have our reading lists for all ages, a lot of Canadian authors on there, books about Black joy, different genres, and so on. And we are in the midst of having our programs. We have a program coming up just next week by Uguma Ekenyao. It's called African Stories by Moonlight, and it's a wonderful opportunity to hear African stories brought down from generation to generation. It's for all ages. And as with African tales, there's always a point to the story, and everyone can learn something. So that's just one of the programs we have. We have so much more as well.
Okay, let me talk to my friend Sheldon Osmond again for a second. Sheldon, if you go to the bottom of the page, maybe we could see that screen grab right now. Great. Rochelle, can you take us through this? What are we looking at, and how can this be helpful?
So yes, we are looking at our digital archive here, and anyone can access this through the Toronto Public Library webpage, and you can just type in terms for different heroes and activists and artists in Canada, and you will find so much information: manuscripts, photos, maps. I even saw someone's passport application, a Canadian doctor, first Canadian born Black doctor. So there's so much you can do through the archive. There are hundreds and just amazing little jewels you'll find.
Any guess about what the oldest document you have in your system is?
Oh, I would probably say the 1700s. I mean, I've seen some really old documents in there, but I would guess it's as old as as old as that.
Amazing. Okay, Alexandra, back to you. We are talking about Black joy, but of course you have referenced Black trauma in your work. And I guess I want, if you can, to give us a better understanding of how you reconcile all of that. It's a lot to reconcile. How do you do it?
I'm not sure that there is a process. I think with regards to truth telling, there's a portion that you can't tell the truth if you're not going to tell the whole truth. And so when it comes to, especially the piece, Finding Black Joy, you know, I started from my deepest, most painful truth, and then sort of burgeoned from there. I knew I wanted to get to a point of joy because, you know, I want to make sure that any story that I tell, that there's an element of hope. And I think when we talk about Black joy, it is full of hope and full of looking forward to the future and full of, you know, making sure that the people outside of the Black communities understand that we're not all just constantly battling racism on a daily basis in terms of like just living trauma over and over. Yes, we are battling racism every day, but within that battle, we can find our joy.
I take your point on that. Having said that, you just referenced your deepest, most painful truth. Do you want to amplify a bit on that here?
I think as a young person growing up, I didn't understand a lot of the microaggressions, a lot of the aggressions, a lot of the racism, a lot of the oppression, discrimination. I didn't understand it because I couldn't understand why someone would be this way because I'm Black. Like, it didn't register. And so in my sort of midlife, I guess, I am looking back and saying, this instance was actual racism. This instance was a microaggression. And that trauma and dealing with that trauma and recognizing that trauma, you're confronting it. You're confronting it so that you can heal and move forward. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Hannah, is that a part of your daily existence?
I think it would be, especially as a spoken word artist. I feel like this is a topic that I touch on quite often because not only is there Black joy, but there's also pain that we experience, and the different intersectionalities between those moods and settings, especially depending on the situations that we're put in. It really changes depending on especially things that are happening in the news with current events. That's how my work theme sort of fluctuates depending on the topic of my poem. And I feel that there's a very great importance in expressing the multidimensionality of our experience, and that our experiences are not one-sided.
Right. Now, do I have this right? Have you performed at a Raptors game before?
Yes, I have. That was definitely one of my career highlights for sure.
How many people in the stands when you did it?
Thousands. I have no idea.
Like, was it a full house or was it under COVID when there was 500 people there?
Oh yeah, it was the first home game that we played since the closing of the opening to a public audience. So everyone was there. Big
house. Okay, very good. And I mean, what you do is a very, in some respects, intimate experience. I mean, we saw in the clip earlier, it's sort of you in a sound booth, and it's an intimate experience. There's nothing about performing in front of 19,000 people that is necessarily intimate. So how'd you do it?
I feel that I had actually started doing spoken word poetry and performances around age 12, and I'm 18 now, so I think those 6 years really prepared me for such a grand audience and a large exposure because I had gradually grown my audience as I moved on through school competitions and then in high school, and then I started speaking at conferences. So I became comfortable and confident in my public speaking skills. In fact, when I was younger, I was once very, very shy. So for me to be where I am right now, looking back on who I was before, I think I've definitely come a long way.
You sure have. Now, what else do you hope to achieve through doing work the likes of which you're doing right now?
Wow, I mean, I really love working with young people and getting to see them flourish in their artistry and seeing what they want to create and helping them to feel comfortable with their own voices and to find their voice the same way that I did. And I find a great reward out of that, as well as trying to advocate for social justice issues as they come about.
Gotcha. Rochelle, let me ask you about a children's storytelling program I think you've got called African Stories by Moonlight. Have I got the title right?
Yes, yes, you do. And that's the one I was chatting about a little bit. And I can give you a little bit more background.
Please.
So Aguma Ekenyao is a storyteller. She's a veteran broadcaster. And she's going to be telling those stories, the African folklore. She's a voiceover artist. She's been featured on different programs around the world, and we are very fortunate to have her coming on February 23rd, virtually, of course, to do the storytelling. So that's definitely something to mark in our calendars.
Gotcha. Alexandra, okay, I got a hard question here. I got a really hard question. Mm-hmm. Did I see this right in your performance piece that you use the N-word?
Yes.
Okay, I got to tell you that when I watched it, you know, that word, it packs a wallop. And when I watched it, I did kind of blanch, right? Like I did a double take, as I'm sure many people would when they watched it. Why did you make the decision to include it in your performance piece?
It is the first word of the piece because it represents the peak of racism. It represents the peak of slavery, the peak of all of the things. And I wanted people to feel uncomfortable right away. There's no escaping when that word is used. It hurts, it hits every single person, no matter your cultural background. And then keep in mind, I didn't use it for effect. I used it because the piece is racist. The piece highlights racism. It is my experience. It is, people have called me this N-word. And like I said, it's the truth. It's my truth. It's what I've been called. And I wanted folks to feel the way I feel whenever it's said to me.
Well, mission accomplished for this viewer in terms of the impact you wanted it to have. It definitely has an impact. Hannah, let me put the question to you. Is that a word that you use in your performances?
For me personally, I haven't used it yet. I'm not sure if I ever will. I think it's just because of the potency of the word. I think with other word choice that I could potentially use, I think it might take away from the flow if it's just sort of thrown into the mix of all of the other words that I use. So I have not used it. I think that, of course, it is such a very poignant word in terms of how it definitely strikes at Black people in general, in terms of our feelings and the negative impact that it's had historically. But I feel that there's other ways of acknowledging that pain surrounding the word without explicitly saying it.
Okay, and Rochelle, I'd like your take on this in as much as, and I'm going to give you a hypothetical scenario here. If an author wanted to do an event for the Toronto Public Library and they wanted to quote from something they had written, and that quote included the N-word, would you allow that to take place?
Well, I think the library, we don't censor things, and so it would definitely depend, hypothetically, on the context. For example, if we had someone coming in to do some spoken word or a play and that had the N-word in it, I think it would really depend on context. I personally am not, wanting to hear that word, so we would probably sort of give someone the audience the heads up that this could be triggering, so that people can decide if they would like to attend or not attend, just because we don't want to make people feel hurt if they're expecting something else. So just giving them the heads up, I think, but it's not something that we would probably censor.
Mm-hmm. Now, Alexandra, you're in, have I got this right? You're a member of Black Lives Matter in London?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about what that involvement does for you.
You know, it is an opportunity to make sure that my life and my son's life is that much more better. I feel like as a Black person, especially a Black woman, I feel like I have a duty to make the world better, and not just talk about how to make it better, but actually get on the street and make it better. And so Black Lives Matter to me is a way to make sure that my son has the best future that I could make for him.
How old is your son?
He's 3.
He's 3. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have not had too many heavy discussions with him about this issue yet.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I guess the next question would be, how hopeful are you that all of what you're doing right now will result in a more positive, less discriminatory world for him to grow up in?
I am extraordinarily hopeful. I can see the changes. A piece like the A Grave in a Mirror, with its full use of the N-word, was received in a great theater with audience members really asking themselves the hard questions, and in turn, you know, changing things. People are changing policies at work. I'm part of several boards in terms of like changing policies and trying to eradicate systemic racism. And I can see the difference. I can see people responding to racist instances differently. I can see people promoting and valuing Black people, Black art, Black music, Black excellence. And I'm very excited for my son's future. And
one more follow-up on your performance arts piece, and that is the actor that you have saying the N-word. She's white. And I wonder if you had any conversations with her in which she expressed to you her kind of personal discomfort, admittedly as an actor, but still having that word come out of her mouth for your piece.
Let me tell you, her name is Sarah Abbott, by the way, a great friend of mine. And in rehearsal, we rehearsed everything except for that word. We saved it for the very end. And there were many tears, and, you know, there was anger, and there was a lot surrounding that use of the word. And I didn't make it comfortable for her. And she didn't want to be comfortable with saying it, obviously. But we decided that this is a conversation from white people to Black people, or a conversation with white people and Black people. And the conversation is bigger than us and bigger than our discomfort. This actually happens. And in order for us to make any sort of changes with regards to racist anything, we have to be able to talk about what actually happens. And we used that and came to being able to say it.
Hannah, I want to finish up on a question to you, which is, you know, every year in February, a lot of media like us very much focus on Black History Month, and we do programs which are themed around issues relating to the Black communities in the province of Ontario. And then I often wonder, okay, what happens in March and April and May and June and so on and so forth? And I wonder how you take all of what you're doing, which gets a spotlight in February, and try to make sure that it has impact beyond February.
Right, for sure. I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of people when I say that I am Black for more than just 1 month. So outside of February, I find that, of course, this month is used to highlight these experiences, but I find that they can be integrated into universal programming or full year-round education and knowledge exchange, even for the brands that I work with, and trying to exemplify diversity and really trying to push that narrative of what the Black experience is out the window and try to showcase it for the multifaceted identity that it is.
Perfect. Alexandra Kane, Hannah Flores, Rochelle Gooden, it's so good of the three of you to join us here on TVO tonight. Thank you for your contribution to this program and this month. And yes, let's hope it goes on beyond February. Take good care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Family secrets can be kept for a long time, sometimes buried forever. But for filmmaker Ines Johnson-Spain, the one that began with her birth and defined and redefined her identity had to come out. Raised by white parents in 1960s era East Berlin, her documentary, Becoming Black, examines the implications of their decision to lie about her West African parent. Ines Johnson-Spain joins us now from Berlin, Germany for more. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you. Terrific, exceptional documentary. There are many beautiful revelations in this film, but so many heartbreaking moments. Why did you want to make this film?
Thank you very much for having me here. Yes, why did I want to make it? It was a long process to come to this. So it wasn't clear in the beginning that I would make this film. It was more that I was approaching this film, coming closer more and more. So in the beginning, I actually wanted to make a film about my grandfather, fatherly sides, who was a resistant fighter against the colonial powers in Togo, Benin, which was former Dahomey. And when I started to research and to work on it, then I realized there are some problems to put myself in a way in it that I was feeling good about it. So I had to find out what was going on, that I don't find my perspective and my place in this film. And that's why I needed to confront some questions. And when I started with this process, I was already in it, and I realized I really needed to go into this to discover all the secrets and taboos which were related to this. And I'm a filmmaker, so it was my medium, and it was a good way for me to be in it, to raise certain questions, and to have at the same time the distance as a director, to also conceptualize the whole thing.
You know, because you are, like you said, you're trying to confront this thing from your past. So you're talking to people about some very, I guess, uncomfortable, you're having these uncomfortable conversations with people that you love. And you're also filming in on two different continents. What were some of the challenges you faced when you were doing this process, when you were filming it?
I mean, the biggest problem or challenge was to, how you said, to raise these questions and to uncover all the hidden things. And of course, it's not something you feel well about it, to confront people you actually love with such uncomfortable topics. And so I had to come through this process of accepting that it's just necessary for me, and that it even might bring some relief to the people I was talking to. So this was really hard. And later on, it was also really challenging to, of course, to confront all the related traumas, to go through all the hurting subjects. And so
were all the people all the family members that you spoke to, both in Germany and in Togo, were they all on board from the get-go?
I mean, I started to talk to my adoptive father much earlier, years ago, much time before I started with the film project, but he wasn't ready then. And so it took a while until he allowed me to pose these questions. And the interesting thing was that he agreed when I was asking him about the film project. And so I think there's something magical also about this process of filmmaking, that sometimes it creates certain conditions and necessities which are necessary for a protagonist to open up. And I think this was the case.
So throughout your whole childhood, there was a secret that was kept from you, and that was the fact that you were half Black, you were half African. You didn't find out this fact until you were 12 years old. When you found out, how did that change things for you?
Yeah, how you can imagine, in the beginning, it was first a big crisis. And I didn't know about how to handle with this. And it needed a long time. And the beginning was that I decided to just go my own way from this moment on, and to not include my German family in any decisions or any things which were important to me.
Did you feel betrayed?
Of course. And so it was a really long time to come to a moment where I could see all this with a little distance, and to also know what would be necessary for me. And the other aspect was to learn that I have an African father and father from Togo, was something which was so closely related to racism that it was very difficult in the beginning to deal with this and to find something positive in it. Even this was necessary to go through and to appropriate my own story, and also my father, my West African family, and so on.
How were you able to reconcile the relationship with your parents through making this film?
I think the most important thing was to know what was happening, to be able then to contextualize it, to know at which time it was happening, how were their circumstances, and to figure out what might have been the motivations to act the way like they did. And in the end, it was that I was just accepting that they gave me what they could give, but there were a lot of things they couldn't give because of their upbringing and their life stories with their parents and history and so on. And this made me, forgiving. It was already before I started to go to Togo.
There's a point in the film when you're talking to your German father, and you said that you were grateful, and he seemed to be very uncomfortable by you saying that you were grateful. He says, no, I don't want to talk about that. When you watch it back, can you identify why you felt gratitude?
Because his role in our family construction was important for me. He kind of protected me against the very, how do you say this, impulsive way of sometimes reacting to me from my mother. My mother was sometimes so emotional and so, I don't know, kind of freaking out. And he was the balancing aspect in this construction. So it was very important that he was there. And the other thing is that he never showed me that I was not his child. And this is something I just had to be grateful about.
And it's interesting, too, when you're having this conversation with him, some of the things that you say to him, he says he doesn't remember it that way. It's interesting growing up in a family dynamics, how different people can have different memories of the thing that happened. Was it difficult to talk to him about these things for the very first time?
Yes, of course, it was very difficult because it was hidden for so long times, and it was related to so much trauma and very difficult experiences in my childhood, in my youth, and even as an adult. And so it has such a weight and such a load that it was very, very heavy, very difficult for me. But yeah, I decided to go through it, and it was necessary. And in the end, it showed that it was something which, from what I benefited really a lot.
So at one point, you do end up going to Togo and you meet your father's family. And one of the people you interviewed in the film talked about what it means to be a member of the Johnson family, your biological father's family. And this person says, you feel that you're alive, that you come from somewhere. Otherwise, you're just left hanging. You can't just be left up in the air. How did those words resonate with you?
And, at the moment when I was shooting them, I was just listening and just tried to receive what was offered from them. And it was later on that I went through this process of reflection, and on a subconscious level, I totally understood what they were talking about. But on the other hand, for me, it was also a bit different because my experience was to have been hanging in the air. So I had to find ways to still live my life and to be happy. And on this path, I developed strategies which were beyond this traditional concepts of biological family and so on. And I'm now in this situation that I made this path, and it's part of my life that I know there's more than the biological family, but still I gained this other side of my original family.
There's something that you said in the documentary that stuck with me. You met this extended family on your father's side, and one of the aunties gave you her numbers, all her numbers, and said, call me, whatever you need, I'm here. And you didn't call. And you said that you didn't know what to do with all this generosity. You didn't think that it was possible. What was it like to be treated in that way, to be welcomed by these strangers when for all your childhood, you kind of felt like you didn't fit in?
Yes, it was totally overwhelming. I couldn't deal with this because I hadn't learned it, and it wasn't my experience that things could be so easy. And it's interesting that you also have to learn this positive things like being just accepted without any conditions, just for what you are. And this is something which is very healing, very beautiful. But at the moment when I was in this situation, it was overwhelming.
You talked about meeting your birth father for the first time and saying that you felt like you had arrived. You had spoken to him on the phone before, but when you met him in person, you felt what?
I felt at home for the first time, just a deep peace, and also a big relief that somebody would not raise any questions, would just open his arms and say, beautiful that you're here. And yeah.
Were you looking for yourself in his face?
Yes. This was also interesting because when I went for the first time to Togo, they made a little ceremony with me and only the closest family, and they showed me a big picture of my grandmother, which I haven't seen because she passed away much earlier, and it was really very moving for me to look in her eyes and to have the feeling I look in my own eyes.
I wanted to read another quote from the film. This is from a Togolese elder featured in the film. You can't make use of what you never had. You can't give what's never been given. The harmony within oneself is reflected in one's relationship with others. Did this journey of becoming Black help you find harmony and feeling within yourself?
Yes, for sure. Or I don't know. I mean, it's not self-evident, but it is like this, that I feel I can't say it in another way than healing on very many levels. And so it healed my relationship to myself as a human being, as a Black person in Germany, as somebody who has a relation to a family and on the continent, and on very many levels there was harmonizing process going on.
It's one thing to look back on your life and try to make the pieces fit in. I think for a lot of people watching this, it would surprise them to at a moment in history, and I'm sure it happens in other places still to this day, that a young girl like yourself grew up in an environment where you knew you looked different. You knew there was something different about you, but the people around you kept saying, "Oh, no. You look this way because sometimes it happens. Sometimes people are born a little browner." Looking back on the things that you endured as a child, how do you square how you made it through to get to the place that you are today? What do you attribute that to?
Sometimes I ask myself this, because there are still moments where I'm a bit astonished that I didn't went crazy or I lost myself in this whole story. But I think I was lucky enough to have a lot of people around me who loved me, and they were not necessarily from my family. And also, I think it was also important that I took my time, that I really did one step after another. And this is also related to the process of filmmaking, because I couldn't have made the film when I would have known what I had to go through. So I really needed to focus to each step which was just in front of me. And this was one strategy. And maybe there's also something like a support from our ancestry, because sometimes I also ask myself, how did I do this, and where came this strength from, and so on. So I'm really thankful that there were so many supporting aspects on my path.
One part in the film, I identified with it because I saw myself in you. There's a moment where another child comes to the school who is of mixed race ancestry, and you say she kind of looks like you, and people would ask you, is that your sister? But there seemed to be a little bit of shame. You felt a little bit of shame towards her. Now that you've gone through this process of making this film, you've met extended family. Can you pinpoint why is it that you felt uncomfortable being around her and seeing someone that looked like you?
Yeah, I mean, it was really with a clear purpose that I put this scene in the film, because this subject of internalized racism is something which is really, really important for me, because this was also part of this liberation I felt, that I could free myself from all this internalized gazes, from this value system which was not mine. And so part of releasing this was, or the result of releasing this was also to accept myself as a Black person. And this is the very fatal thing. I don't know, do you say this in English, fatal? The very, very difficult thing with racism, that you eat things which are not yours, and you think it's you, it's your what you are. And so that's why it was something which was very important for me to tell in this film, because of course I couldn't accept this girl because I didn't accept myself as a little black child.
Because you would think that finally you see somebody that looks like you, that you could maybe have a relationship with, but then it's like, that's not, I don't want anything to do with this individual. In the end of the film, I thought this was such a nice reveal that you had this huge family. You had all these half brothers and sisters that you shared the same father, but they all looked like you. What was it like for you to finally find a place where you could see yourself and be accepted for yourself?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a big gift. It was that for the first time I wasn't alone, because this was my experience. I thought it's just totally normal to always be alone. And then for the first time in my life, I saw people like me, and also people who were being still very different persons, and which would be, for example, having a totally different relationship to their blackness. And this was also very helpful for me to see there are other ways to live as what you are.
What did you learn from the process of creating the film and documenting these conversations?
What I learned from this interesting question. One thing is that it's so necessary to stick to your own story and to yourself, because I made this experience that it is so freeing and so enriching my life, that I can see how I benefited from this process. And even on a physical level, it healed me. And on another thing which I mentioned before already is this strategy to face one thing after another. So of course, I had an idea and general idea about the film, but I knew I cannot face too many things at once. It would just block me. And I think I included this in my daily life experience, that now I also just go one step after another, and sometimes I'm surprised how much I can reach while I'm doing so.
In our last minute, I hope I'm not being too intrusive, but it's something that's just been sitting in my mind, because in the film you were able to speak to your stepfather about these really complicated and have these uncomfortable conversations, and you were able to meet your biological father and meet his extended family, but missing from that piece was your mother, because she died. Have you been able to reconcile that relationship, even though you weren't able to have those conversations with her, since she played such a pivotal role in who you are as a person?
Yes, this is the case, definitely. During the making of this film, I learned so much about my mother, and also to see all these different aspects and the different sides and all the different relatives and family friends who told me about her, about this relationship, about going through. I learned more about where she came from with her family, her parents, and I understood a lot more about her, even though there are still a lot of questions I would raise if she would be alive. But there are for me, there are possibilities to reconcile with somebody, even if he or she is already passed away. And this was happening in my case. So I really found peace with this, and I acknowledge and I'm very much that there were different people also, or especially female person who played a motherly role in my life. And that's why I would also say family is much more than only the biological family. And opening up to this bigger perspective, I could also,
What's the feedback been like for the film from the viewers, from people who watch the film from around the world?
It's I'm very thankful. I'm very glad because the people is very much acknowledged. It's seen in many countries of the world. It's still on its way. It won prizes. I get a lot of feedback from people who are writing me personally, and it's not only people from the community. It's also people who are just touched by this topic of family secrets, taboos, and also just search for identity or belonging. And it's amazing how that so many people reacted to this, and that I seem to have found a language which is possible to relate to for many people.
Well, congratulations on the film. I loved reading how the critical response to your film from critics in Germany, for them to praise your work, considering the difficult upbringing that you had there. Congratulations, Ines. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
That is the agenda for Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Has the pandemic permanently altered our relationship with food, dieting, and body image? We'll explore that tomorrow. I'm Nam Kiwanuka. Thanks for watching TVO, for joining us online at tvo.org, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Now stay tuned for the North American broadcast premiere of Becoming Black.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.